Hey Threadheads, Darren here. Welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. Today we're going to be tying up a flashback seal scud. This is a great pattern for fishing either Stillwater or deeper bends and rivers where you do find a few scuds skittering around naturally. So just to mention, the primary material here that I'm using is actually seal dubbing, and I do realize a lot of people don't have access to that for political reasons basically, but in its place you can use what I would recommend is either the Simi seal product or a straight Antron type dubbing. You want something that's got a little bit of coarseness to it, and we're going to actually do a bit of blending with different colors. So in this one I've used some different shades of olives, brown, and a bit of claret just to give some variegation into the body. Don't forget to leave a comment below to get entered into the next draw for flies and decals. Let's have a look at the material list and get started. Alright, let's get into it. I'm going to start off by putting a fresh hook in the vise. And today I'm going to be using a Firehole 315, and this is a number 10. And typically I'll be tying this, not usually a 10, but 10 would be the maximum. Probably 12, 14, and maybe even down into a 16 for some of the smaller type scuds. We're going to add a little bit of weight to this scud. We're going to add a few wraps of 0.025 wire. We use either lead or non-lead. We're just going to use the back of our scissors to cut off the extra length. A little divot in there is ideal for cutting wire and lead without dulling the tips of your scissors. And we'll just wrap the rest of that lead just around the hook and get it into position. For thread, we're going to be using 70D olive UTC, and we'll start off by wrapping in behind the eye of the hook, and we just want to try and build up a little bit of a taper into the weight of the body, and just make sure that we hold that weight in place. And on the back end we'll do the same, just try and build a bit of a taper into that. It's not as important for this pattern, but it does help with the transition in the body. So we're going to take a couple pieces of crystal flash, and we're just going to double that over and cut it until we've got 8 strands. And we're going to tie this in as our tail. So we'll tie that in behind the back of the weight. And we'll tie that right on top of the hook shank. Just kind of pull it up a little bit just so that material stays on top of the hook shank. And we'll trim off the extra there. And you can either trim up the tail now, or you can wait till after you're done fishing or tying the fly, not fishing, and judge it there. But I typically just cut that a little past the bend of the hook. Alright, so now we're going to add our flashback, and for this I'm going to be using a little bit of pearl Flashabou material. This one's got a slight pink tinge, but you can use something with like a bit of a green tinge or just the straight pearl. We're going to take about 10 strands, give or take, and we'll cut those off and we'll tie those in on top of the hook shank. We want to try and get those as centered as possible, so we'll just take our thread up to the front of the hook and we'll tie that down over top of the weight and right to where the base of the tail is. So we're going to need a ribbing for the fly as well, and for that we're going to use some gold UTC, and for this fly today I'm going to be using the small size, and we don't need a lot, just probably 5 or 6 inches worth, just enough to give the fly about seven wraps. And this wire will also secure our flashback material. So we'll just put that in the material clip till we need it. So for the dubbing, we're going to be using seal, as I said in the intro. If you don't have seal, you can use something like a Simi seal or an Antron dubbing, something with a little bit of coarseness to it. So seal can be a little bit tough to dub, so you may want to use a little bit of dubbing wax to get it onto the thread. But basically we're just going to dub as fine a noodle as you can, and with the seal it might just naturally want to come out as a little bit thicker noodle, which is totally fine. We're going to be brushing this out later. So we're just going to start wrapping on, and we want to make sure that the bulk of it hits the middle of the fly, but again we want to make sure that we've got some of the dubbing at the front and the back. So the blend that I've used here is I believe about 4 different colors, maybe 5 different colors. So I've got a standard olive, a dark olive, a light olive, as well as a little bit of brown and some claret in there, just to kind of give it, break it up a little bit. I do tie this in solid olive colors, but I find I have a little bit more success when the color isn't quite so monotone. So we'll just add a couple half hitches at the front, and we'll kind of pull some of these fibers down just so that we have a nice area to lay our flashback. And we're going to pull all the crystal flash forward. You can add or wrap a thread just to kind of keep that in place, or you can just go ahead and start wrapping your wire. You just want to make sure the most important part of this is just that the flashback stays in the middle, and that it stays centered on top of the fly. So you can reposition that with every wrap. And we'll wrap this until we get to the eye of the hook. And then we'll come together and wrap off both the wire and the Flashabou on our last wrap. And with that, we'll just make sure that we pull back the Flashabou and the wire, and we'll get a wrap of thread under there as well. And just we want to lock that, both of those materials in, so that they're not going to come loose while we fish. So we'll go ahead and trim that with the back of our scissors. Alright, so we'll just clean up the ends with a whip finish or two. And we just want to make sure that we cover those exposed cut ends of the material, make sure that they're bound down well. So we'll add a whip finish just to make sure that's all secure, and we'll add a second whip finish just for insurance. Looks good. Then we'll trim our thread. And we'll just pull down some of these fibers. We want to get them away from the flashback on top. We're going to take a little bit of UV resin. We're going to be using the Flex formula from Solarez today. And we just want to make sure that we apply that right to the top of the flash material. And we're just going to add it a little bit at a time. We just want to make sure that we have it right on top. And you can grab something like a toothpick or a dubbing needle just to kind of help spread it around to where you need it. And if you need to add a little bit more, go ahead. We are going to trim this fly up a little bit once we've cured it and given it a little bit of a hairbrush. So we'll go ahead and cure this now. You want to make sure that you give it enough time and you go over the arc of the back of the fly, just make sure everything's cured. Now we're going to take our dubbing brush that we created in a different video, and we're just going to brush down on each side just to kind of pull some of those loose fibers out. And if you want it a little bit more leggy, you can go ahead and brush it a little bit more. Then we're going to take it out of the vise, and we're going to hold the fly in between our thumb and forefinger and just trim that off. And there you go. There's the Flashback seal scud. Hey fly tyers, thanks for stopping by and checking out my fly tying videos. If you enjoyed the video and want to show your support, hit the thumbs up and share it to your social networks. I hope you consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, be sure to hit the bell icon to get notifications on my latest fly patterns, tips, and reviews. If you have a question or comment, leave a message below. You'll also be entered into the next draw for some of the flies I tie and a few stickers. Until next time, this is Darren saying, keep a hook in your vise. Cheers.